Welcome to Foster Care and Fashion. We are here with Tony Martinez, who is a candidate for the Wyandotte County District Court judge seat that is open. And Tony, I sent an article over regarding implicit bias, and I thought that it was an important conversation to have. The American Bar Association is actually the one who has it on their website, and they have a whole subcommittee devoted towards it regarding the judiciary, so regarding judges. So before I sent it, were you aware of implicit bias and what it means and how it affects the different decisions that we all make?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. As it exists in this society right now, it's around us all the time. The other day I was talking to a young insurance salesman. We were at the Chamber, Kansas City Cancer Chamber, and we were talking about as the after hours program they have for businesses. And we were trying to determine the best way for me to understand it, for him to understand it. And then somebody else stepped in and said, it's like the fish that's in the water, and he meets the other two fishes. And he says, the water's gotten really cold. And the other two fishes say, what water? It's all around us. We just have a tendency, I think, to forget that it's there. We learn that as we go along.
That's an interesting example.
Well, it kind of made me laugh, but it's true.
Yeah.
If you think about it,
Okay.
It's there. It's always there.
It is always there.
I think we all have small prejudices. I do, but I also think that the reason we have the small prejudices is because we learn them through, as your article says, through stories, books, movies, media, culture, and then the experiences we have when we're out in society. I think it's dangerous because I think it leaves out certain voices that need to be heard.
Right.
And we have a tendency to think, well, it doesn't exist. What are you talking about? The two fishes.
Right.
What are you talking about? But
What
it's all
water?
around us. Yeah, what water? There's no water here.
So a couple things with that. I think that we all have snap judgments that we make.
We do.
Right? Like,
do.
and that's just the way that our mind works. When you see someone, you try to like kind of size them up, right? You try to understand who they are. You want to have like a point of reference, and what you draw upon are your experiences.
Right.
But, right, we then need to have that second thought of, okay, but I really don't know them. So let me be open to who they are as a person, right? Let me not think that all short people are sassy, or all short people are rude, or all tall people are kind. That may not be true, right? But when we do that, then that's dangerous. And it's even more dangerous when you're a judge and you're making these important decisions, and you think that all men are wonderful fathers, or you think all mothers are wonderful mothers, and that may not be true.
That isn't true.
It is not true.
I deal with that every day.
Yes.
Every day.
So we need to look at the facts. We need to look at the evidence and figure out exactly who this person is that's in front of us.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Quite frequently in this office, and you're talking about a domestic level, domestic cases, that happens all the time. I spend many hours and days talking to clients about, listen, it was okay before, but now it's not. What's the difference? Oh, there's a third party. All of a sudden, dad shouldn't see his kids as much because he has a girlfriend. Or on the other hand, there's, a mother that happens the same way. We're trying to pull these kids right and left because the other parent can't quite understand that there's going to be changes in everybody's life.
Right.
And you just have to kind of get over that. There can't be that bias.
Right. There's a process that folks have to go through.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you bring that up on a gender basis, because most people think it's an ethnicity basis, and it's not.
It's not. There are so many different biases that exist that I think we need to begin to talk about. Race is the obvious one, right?
Right.
That's
too easy.
Right.
It's too easy because it is obvious.
But let's dig a little bit deeper and talk about some of these other issues. Tony, is there anything else you want to add? I appreciate you having the conversation about implicit bias and how it's important for the judiciary to recognize. I guess I wonder if there's training that kind of continuing. I know the judges have a conference that they attend and that they have legal training and credits that they need to receive, but I wonder if it's regarding implicit bias? Like, I wonder if that's a conversation that's being had.
I don't know.
And if not,
maybe we should ask the judges.
We should.
Setting, absolutely. No, I think that's a good idea.
Yes,
I'd like to know that.
Absolutely.
I won't lie to you. In my 30 years of practice, I have been in front of judges who definitely have had biases. And truthfully, I think the ones that the judges that I've been in front of where that has happened, it has been on a gender basis.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
What about being hometowned? So what about the bias that exists when you go to a county and you're not from there? Do you think that that's a bias?
It's absolutely biased. You know, and if you don't know, that I practiced primarily, probably 70% of my practice at one time was in Johnson County.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There was and still is that bias. I believe, as an attorney, it's my personal opinion, but I've been practicing for 30 years, that there has been and was that bias. Johnson County attorneys coming to Wyandotte, Wyandotte County attorneys going to Johnson.
But that's done now, Tony.
Is it done? Is it done?
Yes.
You know, I don't go to Johnson County much anymore, so I don't know. But I hope it is.
It is.
Okay, it is.
You know what though? I went to a small town that shall remain nameless.
Oh.
And
I'll name the town. Tell me where it's at.
It was small. I had to drive hours.
Okay.
And I mean, literally, we had a trial, and I feel in my heart I should have won, right? Because that's how we always feel. But the attorney, his entire closing argument was, "Judge, you know this town. You know what we do here. You have no idea where this guy is from. You have no idea about
what's happening." Sounds like an appeal there.
It was interesting. Yeah. I was like, this is happening.
No,
I'm being hometown. That's what they call it.
You know what's interesting is because you're bringing that up. I have been in towns in rural. Many towns in rural Kansas. I can think of one, and I won't say the name either. But I don't think this is kind of a reverse thing. I don't think they were really had very many minority attorneys that had been in that particular county.
Interesting.
And they treated me like a king.
Really?
And I think it was because of that.
Okay.
It was the opposite of what we go through sometimes, I think, as minorities or as women. They treated me like a king.
Interesting.
Mr. Martinez. Oh, how are you? Where are you from? Where'd you go to school? And I think in that county, I got just about everything I needed to get from my client. I was really happy about that.
Of course you were.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having the conversation, Mr. Martinez.
Absolutely.
Okay.